What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz. It is Thursday, March the 23rd, 2023, and in today's glass half full video, I'm going to explain what the heck just happened with the Dow Jones that was up 400 points and is now down over 100 at around 3 o'clock in the East Coast time. What in the world's going on with the banking system as PacWest and FRC revisit all-time lows? And I will cover, before the end of this video, all 6 stocks that we own, including my number one favorite, and why I am totally convinced the guy who's at you up 5x, despite the recent drawdown, I am totally convinced that on or before Memorial Weekend, this madness that has plagued us for the last 15 months is going to come to an end. All that and more coming right up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I was just outside. It's a gorgeous, sunny and 83. So if it looks like I'm sweating, I am. But we ain't got time to waste. As I said, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As I'm talking to you right now, the Dow is down 100. It was a little worse than that a few moments ago. So your obvious question is going to be, what is going on? Keeping it simple, stupid. Yesterday, the Fed raised a quarter point to 4 3/4 to 5 on their target anyway, on the 10-year. But the bond market, which again is 10 times the size of the stock market, is saying, hasn't gone anywhere but down. You have the dollar flat on the day. You got the VIX. It's up a little bit at 23 and change. But if it was really time to panic, and it's not, it'd be north of 40. And then maybe we could actually get the capitulation we've all been waiting for and end this bear market once and for all. But as I've been saying now for weeks, if not months, we are locked in a range between 3,800 on the S&P and 4,200. And while you guys hate to hear it, I called the top to the hour several weeks ago at 4,182. I also called the bottom about 10 days ago at 3,800 when there was no bear in sight. There was a bear. There was no bull in sight. Welcome if you're new. We don't edit around here. There was no bull in sight. Not a single one. Tom Lee of Funstrat was shaking in his boots, and he's been a bull now for 15 years. But I said this market's a buy in terms of the mega caps. We're going back to 4,000, and we did. But then I came out once again today, in addition to saying Bitcoin at 28 was overbought, but it's not going to crash. It is not going to crash. It may revisit 24, 25 where it last broke out. But Jim Cramer, who has to be the utmost total pathetic effing clown to ever set foot or show his face on television. He told you to sell at 18K on Bitcoin. He's been wrong ever since. And somebody tell me in the comments below, name one trade, one single trade, especially in the last couple of years, where he's been right, because he's also the same guy who told you to buy SIVB, Silicon Valley Bank, at $350 just a few months ago. So the Fed raises a quarter. Janet Yellen opens her mouth, someone who I think is arguably as bad or worse than Joe Biden, and she makes the mistake, whether it's intentional or not, who cares? And she says the banks are not going to be backstopped. We're not going to insure everybody. And that's in direct conflict with what Powell and other members of Congress have said. So whether they're intentionally, and that may be the case, trying to sow seeds of confusion, or they're just the island of misfit toys. Whether it's Biden, Mayor Pete, Janet Yellen, I mean, I could go on and on and on, and this has nothing to do with politics, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, and this upset some of my Republican friends, to that I say, tough shit. I would gladly take Crooked Hillary, who I think, perhaps along with Michelle Obama, / Barack, they should primary, both of them, Joe Biden. If they can't get him to quit and just walk off into the sunset while he shakes hands with ghosts and sniffs young children's hair, then primary his ass, because I'll take either one of those two over him any day of the week. But my preference, as most of you know, is give Trump 4 more years to clean up this mess and then hand the ball off to Ron, preferably as a VP, for the next 8. Because you can say, oh, he's this, he's that, he's the mean tweeter. Didn't they prove that the Russia, and damn near everything else, including J6, was a scam? And now we saw yesterday the lawyer that he had told another lawyer that Trump knew absolutely nothing about the payoff to a stripper. And I mean, come on already. While I'm on the subject, and I'll get right back on in a second. We have a list, the Epstein Island list, that's a mile long, including Bill Gates, who admits that he went there 37 times for dinner. Not a single one of those mother have been arrested. Not one, not even brought in for questioning to my knowledge. But we're going to go after a president who may have had a lawyer that paid off a stripper, who, by the way, denied that she was ever paid off in the first place 18 months ago. So give me Trump. I want to see that guy out on the front lawn with the red tie, telling everybody, as he did for 4 years when he handed off a record high stock market to Joe Biden with inflation at 1.4%. I'm here to clean up the mess that these fools created, because the S&P under Joe Biden hasn't gone anywhere. Average 401k, according to the Wall Street Journal, I read this an hour ago, down 27%. You have made no money, Democrats, and I've got friends that are about as far left as it gets under this guy. And it's top to bottom. You've got mass confusion. Janet says one thing, Jerome says another. The market can't figure out what it's doing. So if you want to know, other than the technicals, which are actually flawless lately, follow me on Twitter at TrySmallBiz. It's because no one can get a coherent message. No one can come out and say, including the Fed, which started off with a dovish statement, and then Jerome Powell, who was very tired and angry at the press conference, ran over the opportunity to settle everything down. So that's why PACW, that's why FRC, which again, I told you to sell at 50, last trade 12.5, is back in the crapper. We have far less Silicon Valley banks, and to my knowledge, other than Signature in New York, which was a crypto-related situation, are in trouble. So you don't have a coherent message. You got the Fed, maybe we're going, maybe we're not going. We can't quite decide if we're dovish. Are we done? The futures market is telling you the most important thing, the bond market, which is 10 times the size. How am I looking? 10 times the size, not bad for 53, April 13th, of the stock market. It's telling you 50-50 shot that the Fed is done May 3rd. And there's a full point or thereabouts in cuts this year and next. And even Jerome Powell in the press conference admitted that. He said we're going down 2 full points from wherever we stop, which is most likely the 3rd of May. So as I said in yesterday's video, which was not that watched, maybe because of the swearing, or people are just so damn negged out, we are now entering the middle of a decade. The 3rd to the 8th year is the most bullish in the last 100 years. You had the 87 crash, end of the decade. You had 1998 when I was on Wall Street, long-term capital crisis, end of the decade. Then it was off to the races out of that low. This one could be the same into the 2000 dot-com bubble burst, followed by the Great Recession of 2008 and 9, the pandemic of 2020. Almost every single major bear market in the last 100 years is at the beginning or the end of a decade. So now that the Fed is telling you we're almost done, the futures are telling you they may be done, and we're going to cut for 2 years and probably sit on our ass for 2 or 3 more. So if you guys can suck it up, and I know it's not easy, and I'm actually going to cover before the end of this video all 6 stocks that we own, including my favorite. If you can just suck it up, if you can just hang in there for another 30 to 60 days, in my opinion, max, when the Fed finally says, and that's what happened this morning, somebody obviously got something screwed up this afternoon, that's when we're going to see the Dow go up 1,000 points. That's when stocks like ours that have been absolutely massacred, some of which will go up 20 to 30% in a couple of hours, will be back in favor. But until we get clarity, until the market calms down, until the margin call selling stops, it's going to be tough. But I need you to suck it up. And before, again, that I go through each and every one of our stocks, you may see when you log into TrySmallBiz.com, it says, thank you for helping us reach our goal of 500 premium members strong by Christmas. You guys might remember a few months ago, I was trying to do a Discord or a Patreon, a paywall where I may share one or two picks, but most of it was going to be behind a wall. And that's what some of you are willing to pay for. And that's still the case. But then we had the Fed's arrest, and you know who I'm talking about, those 8 pump and dumpers on Twitter, combined with the end of the idle program and shit hitting the fan in the small cap space. And we started losing premium members hand over fist. 150 plus have fired me in the last 3 or 4 months. Right now we have 366. So I'm putting this out there very quickly. I need 100 and what is that? 34 premium members between now and plenty of time, Christmas. If you guys will help me do this, and I'm about to send an email, only the second one to 7,000 people before my birthday on April the 13th. If we can get what, 2 or 3% of you that are free, and again, there's almost 7,000, we're there. Then we can look at, okay, does it make sense to have a Discord or a Patreon? And if so, who's going to be invited and who's not? What am I going to share? Am I going to create a private chat line? What can we do that'll keep us out of trouble with the you-know-who's, but add an enormous amount of value for $1 a day? So if we hit 500, and again, I only need 130 some odd more, I'm keeping it at $1 for the next few years. I'm giving up $200,000-$300,000 to keep it at $1 fucking dollar. Don't tell me you don't have $1. Larry Poulin, what is that, right? A candy bar, a Twix bar or two? I don't care if you're struggling, you're flat on your back, you're in trouble. Do not tell me you're not wasting $10 a day on smoking, drinking, drugging, gambling, etc. I need 100 and some odd people to get us to 500, and then by Christmas, I'll keep it at $1, at least through the end of next year into the following. But if we don't hit that goal, it's going to $2 or $3. It has to in February of next year. So get a premium membership. And by the way, and I'll close out with all of our stocks, including my favorite. If you're already a premium member, hit the Get Premium red button before you log in. You'll see the 14 extras you get for $1 a day. Most people that are already paying $1 don't even know what they're getting. It's an insane value. But for 96% of the rest of you, hit the red upgrade to premium button when you log in, and you'll see the entire menu. First to come up and search on the homepage 100 times a day, promoted to 160,000 people around the world, including videos like this now, and 60-minute short promos that I'll start on YouTube in April. And you can write articles, you can do videos, tons of things. $1 a day. I need 130 of you or thereabouts to do it before the end of this year. All right, XELA. I get a lot of questions about that. And then I'll finish with TRKA, which is actually my favorite. But XELA, they triggered the shorts. They flushed the shorts. The tops. That's all, folks. 7.5 million views, not a single edit ever. I've had senior moments. I've had Porky Pig episodes. It seems like a lot lately because I'm trying to get a 2-hour video into 15 or 20 minutes tops. But we don't edit. We speak from the heart. I speak from experience as well. It is true that you'd be up 5x if you followed every trade in the last year, despite a 30+% drawdown here in the last month. I know what I'm doing. And we got to suck it up because when the Fed goes, that's it. We're done. Now we're going to spend 2 years cutting and another 2 or 3 on the sidelines picking our ass. This market's going to take off. And these paper losses, or at least some of them, are going to be wiped out in minutes. We have to suck it up. We got to stay involved. Last trade on TRKA, 17.5. Anything in the 17s on that, and I'll cover it at the end, is a screaming buy. But XELA, supposedly $1.2 billion in revenue with a market cap of $4 million, with the stock last trade at 039. I don't have an answer for you. Some are saying there's actually 1 billion shares outstanding. I called several people, including E-Trade today. No, there's only 140 million or thereabouts. It really does have a $4 or $5 million market cap. So you might be sitting there, as I am, with a big paper loss going, how does a company doing $1.2 billion in revenue with 17,000 employees with supposedly 140 million or thereabouts shares, how in the world is it trading at under 4 cents? Answer, shitty market, no liquidity, and massive amounts of naked shorting. They are going to do a reverse split. However, the meeting is May 5th. They're not going to be, according to what I've read repeatedly, even as of yesterday, They're going to take a vote. Now, he's got the preferred shares that he issued himself, the CEO par. He doesn't need the streets' help, but they're going to do an official vote anyway. The 5th of May, it's already ramped twice north of 8. And I did tell everybody you got a chance to get out now. If you didn't, you're in there with me, and I'm currently down big on over 1 million shares of stock. But I do believe even at 3 and change, it's going to ramp, or at least that's what I'm counting on. But do not go over the 10% or thereabouts threshold per idea. You will not wipe out your account if you put $1,000 of your $10,000 account into each idea. You put half of it in first, and you try to buy the other half on a pullback. So if you're sitting there, as I am, at close to 15%, that's enough. Do not go heavy. We may be looking at a reverse split. It may go to 3 cents or even lower. We don't know. But I'm sitting there waiting for the bounce, the rip, the cover, so I can get out of the damn thing, preferably with the profit. You might be asking yourself, moving right along, why do we have 40% of our money or thereabouts in biotech? Answer: it's a news-driven situation. I knew 2 months ago that we were going to enter a shitstorm towards the end of the Fed rate hike cycle. I did not know it was going to be this bad. Because if you've been following me on Twitter at TrySmallBiz for the better part of over a year, I usually have about 20% cash. There's been times when I've been 80% cash after big runs, 27 winners in a row last July and August. When it got up to nosebleed levels, I said, that's it. We got to wait for this to cool down. But about a month or so ago, I went all in. And obviously, I was wrong. I spend as much time, by the way, if you're new, talking about my losers as much as my winners. There's much more to learn when you make a mistake. And I've obviously made some here in the last 30 to 60 days. But drawing on 30 years of experience and a track record that I've shown in real time, and I'm again asking for $1 a day at trysmallbiz.com, almost 85% winners. And if you look at what I said, even this week, yesterday, when I said there's going to be resistance at 4,000 on the S&P, we got up there today, 4,006, I think was the high, and then kaboom. We're going to go between 38 and 42 on the S&P. We may go sideways, so nobody makes any fucking money as we go through and into the next OPEX or option expiration. Markets love to do that, screw everybody over. But at some point here soon, with XELA, with our 2 biotechs, PBLA, which was an $87 stock a year ago. Can you believe that? Did a reverse split 3-4 months ago, but split adjusted 87, 77, 67, 47, 37, et cetera, et cetera. I got involved with some of you around $1.12 is I think our average. We waited until 98% of the sell-off and still got cut in half. And their earnings last week were not that bad. They've got 2 phase 1 studies, that are due out. Pancreatic, and I think the other is liver. ENSC, which is actually my favorite, last trade 47 cents for the biotech names anyway, is a cancer biotech. So it can change overnight. If you were with me last year, we had several biotech stocks. I'll use one as an example. Recently, LHDX went from 12 cents, where I said to buy it, got out way too early, to $1.45. It was a 12 bagger. That can happen with biotech. So I'm buying, if I'm you, ENSC at 47 cents last trade. That's within a penny or two of an all-time low. Again, split adjusted down from close to $10. And by the way, one of those stocks, and I believe it's ENSC, Roth Capital has a $10 target on it. PBLA or ENSC. One of them has a $10 target. And he has a very articulate explanation. If this happens with respect to 2 phase 1 studies, we expect them to become profitable in 2024 and 5, generate 200 million or thereabouts in revenue, partnerships, etc. Do I think it's going to 10? No. Would we take, I don't know, $1 or $2 with both of them in and around 50 cents? You're damn right we would. And we'd make money on both if that was to be the case. BBIG, stay away. The guy that's running the show, Ted something or other, was actually arrested in November. They're 10 months late. It's a sexy story. Alternative to TikTok, which, as I said on Twitter, is not going to happen. Too much leverage there. The government is using TikTok to manipulate and negotiate on a number of issues with the Chinese. I will be shocked, and I'll be the first one to eat crow, if there's a total ban outright of what AOC, who's a hot mess, and I have to confess, and I know I'm going to offend some people here, but we got to keep it entertaining, and then I'll get to TRKA. I have a mad crush on her. AOC. I've watched some of her drunken TikTok videos where she's leaning over and her boobs are hanging out, and I'm thinking, man, I hear you, Ma. I hear you, rude and crude. If I only had a chance. That's all I'm saying. I think she's an idiot. I think she's absolutely clueless. I do think she could make a fortune outside of Congress, and she may someday, but I'm confessing right here, right now, I have a crush, and it's a huge crush. Oh, there goes a few more premium members. I can't help it. I can't help it. Dumb as a box of rocks, but ever since I saw her dancing there, man, it got even worse. It got worse. Anybody else out there have a crush on her? You can disagree with her. You can think she's an idiot. I do. But there's just something there. All right. In closing, hopefully we got some laughs. If you made it this far, and only 40% according to my analytics make it to the back half of the video, TRKA, 11x revenue growth year over year. Earnings coming out in 3 weeks. It's gone from 15 to $1. I know, AOC. Back to 16 cents and change this morning. Bounced to 19.5, and then shit hit the fan. It came back down. Last trade, 17.5. Simply put, TRKA, if you can buy it at 17.5, or even a retest of today's lows in the 16s, I get all over it, because that's what, a 92% retracement from 15 to $1 and back again. And since then, we've learned that they had 1,125% year over year revenue growth with $5 million of EBITDA / profit in the last quarter. And the big rumor that's out there, and I tried to confirm it today and failed, is that they're somehow going to keep the Series E preferred stock off the market. Whether it's already off or they're getting Jefferies to help them take it off. The rumor is there could be as much as 200 million shares or thereabouts, most of the stock outstanding, that's actually a part of this conversion, including warrants, that's not available for the shorts to cover. So all these FTDs are failure to deliver, the naked shorts that are breaking the law, destroying these stocks. Suddenly all that stock that they think is available, because they keep pounding the bid on a company that's got 11x year over year revenue growth, because they think there's a few hundred million shares that are there for them to cover. Well, what if there wasn't? And again, I haven't been able to prove it. E-Trade and others told me, no, all of it's available in the public, or at least that's what they're told. So let's assume for a second in closing that all of that stock is in the float, meaning the shorts can get their fucking hands on it. Maybe the reason why they're quiet at 17 and change is because, along with Jefferies, who they hired at $0.25, ran to $1. So Jefferies' reputation is on the line. They're down 40% since they got involved to enhance shareholder value. Maybe they're assimilating the money, and they're allowing the shorts to dig an even deeper and deeper and deeper hole. And that little bounce from 16 to now 19.5 on no news, and it took what, 15 minutes? Is just a smidge of what's going to happen. Maybe around earnings or shortly thereafter, where they come out and say, and by the way, the CEO bought 2 million shares. I think it was at 86 or 89 cents several months ago. Maybe they come out and say, along with Jefferies, we have assimilated $20 million to buy back the stock, which would be, and I'm just throwing this out there, 50 to 100 million shares, up to $0.25, up to $0.5, whatever. And they're allowed to buy back so much. Well, the minute that news goes out, they not only won't have to buy it all back, because the FOMO will just be insane and through the roof, because they do have to at some point get to $1 in order to maintain NASDAQ compliance. But it's a tinderbox. It's a profitable company that has a major mid-tier regional investment banker in the form of Jefferies. They've got a track record of 1,100% year over year growth. This is not some fly by night that's not making money. This is a profitable company that's growing hand over fist. So if it's possible, and I think it is, that they're putting together the final touches acclimating, getting the money together. Maybe they've got to wait for a certain filing with the SEC, NASDAQ, etc. And then they come out and they go, guess what? We're buying back 50 to 100 million shares. Or we just did. And then word gets around and you're sitting there as a naked short somewhere in the Cayman Islands and you look over at your buddy and you say, did you hear that? Aren't we short like 40 million shares of stock? And now all that Series E, the warrants, the conversion, etc., is no longer available? What the fuck are we going to do? Until next time, what we're going to do is head to the bar for another whiskey on a big rock. Always remember that I love you guys, and I really appreciate you watching.